Hello! So, as you can probably tell from the title, this isn't going to be the usual look at all the makeup I like kind of video. So this video is going to be all about anxiety. There are a lot of videos on YouTube about anxiety. A lot of big YouTubers suffer with it and have done videos on it. People like Zoella and Pixie Woo have done anxiety videos, so I thought I would add in my experience and stuff about anxiety. First of all, I got diagnosed with an anxiety disorder about, oh god, 10 years ago actually? Yeah, because I was about 13 or 14, I'm 23 now. And I got diagnosed with it while I was in school because I was struggling a lot in school. So basically I decided to make this video now because it seems to be, my anxiety anyway seems to be quite prominent in my day-to-day life at the moment. I'm in my final year of university. I have a lot of deadlines and work to do, so I think all of that has sort of accumulated into one giant ball of just worry and stress and is basically ruining my days. So I'm going to read a little bit of what the NHS says an anxiety disorder is. If you don't know what anxiety is, maybe you've never experienced it before or you don't really know much about it, I'm just going to explain what it is first, because you may not know. So a GAD, or generalised anxiety disorder, this is off NHS by the way, so this is like medical stuff. GAD is a long-term condition which causes you to feel anxious about a wide range of situations and issues rather than one specific event. People with GAD feel anxious most days and often struggle to remember the last time they felt relaxed. GAD can cause both psychological, mental, in case you didn't know what that word meant, and physical symptoms. These vary from person to person but can include feeling irritable or worried and having trouble concentrating or sleeping. So that's basically what the NHS says about a generalised anxiety disorder, which I think is the one that I have, because I think there's only one. One of the biggest things that I get told all the time is, or asked all the time is, are you better now? No, because it doesn't work like that. Anxiety disorder can't be cured overnight. Most people will have it for their entire lives. It's sort of, I've sort of looked at it in a way of, this is how my brain works, the end. It'll flare up and be really, really bad, or it will not be that bad and I just don't even notice that I have an anxiety disorder. So it's not the sort of thing that you recover from like overnight. It's not the flu, it's not a cold, it's not like your immune system doesn't battle your anxiety, it's all in your head. So I've pretty much got it for the rest of my life and all I can do is deal with it as it comes and goes. The second thing that people always say to me is, what sets it off? Nothing sets it off. It isn't like there's a specific event or something that people say. It's literally just there all the time, and then depending on if I am a little bit stressed and I don't really know that I'm that stressed, it will just flare up. So it's not really like, oh, I went out to the shops and I don't know, an elephant appeared and that set it off. That's not how it works, for me anyway. There will be situations that I'm in where I feel particularly anxious, but most of the time it will literally just be like a wave of anxiousness, and then eventually after a couple of weeks of pure panic and fear, it will slowly die down and I won't really notice it anymore. So the way that I tend to get it is, I've always been quite claustrophobic anyway, but it tends to make it more extreme. So like before it would be, I would feel a little bit anxious if I was in a lift or a really small space. Now, because my anxiety has sort of heightened it quite a lot, it's literally if I'm in any situation where I don't think I can leave easily. So that could be in the cinema because you sort of feel a bit weird when you get up and you go out of the cinema because people look at you. So it's things like that. Lectures I'm having a lot of trouble with as well, so when the lecturer is speaking and I know that I can't just stand up and walk out because that's rude, I tend to get quite anxious then. In restaurants, because it's quite a public space and you sort of feel a bit weird because you need to sit down and eat your food, so it's just sort of like places where I don't feel like I can get up and leave. So at the moment it's pretty bad. I've never really had it as bad as it is right now, but it is pretty bad. And I sort of decided last time, I was in a lecture last week, and I realised that I couldn't sit in through the lecture. And I kind of need to, because I need to learn stuff. And it's hard to learn stuff if you can't sit in a lecture. So I decided to finally, after years and years and years, just go and see the student advice people and basically ask them what they can do for me. So I have an appointment now for the wellbeing services at uni, so hopefully they can help me out a little bit. When I started with it, I started having heart palpitations, which are terrifyingly scary. Basically, if you don't know what a heart palpitation is, it's where your heart speeds up really fast. And yeah, that's basically it. It just speeds up really fast. Faster than if you have just done loads of exercise. That's how fast it goes. And it makes me feel really lightheaded because obviously it's pumping the blood around my body really quickly. So I tend to get those. I also get really short of breath, so I feel like I can't breathe. And it feels like someone's like pressing on my chest, or like when you have a chest infection as well. Like I can't take in oxygen. So that tends to make me panic even more. But I have seen doctors in the past. I went to the school nurse when I was about 14, I think. It was when I first started having it. And she basically turned around to me and said it was my hormones and I'd grow out of it. And that was the last I ever saw her, because she told me to go back the next week. I went back the next week and she was not there. And then she wasn't there for the subsequent weeks that I went back to try and see her and try and talk to her about it. So I kind of got a bit disheartened about getting help for it, because I thought, oh well, clearly she didn't really care that much that I'm in this situation. So I ended up going to my GP, and he pretty much said the exact same thing as the nurse did. It's just your hormones, you'll grow out of it. And then eventually I just kept going because it was just getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where I couldn't actually stand up. I could only lie down. As soon as I stood up, I would feel really lightheaded and dizzy, and I'd have to sit back down again, which is a very strange side effect of anxiety, but there we go. And I went back to the GP to talk to them about it, and they basically told me, well, I think I had a female GP, and she said, you need to read self-help books. So I went, okay. I've never read one that has not been complicated to understand. So difficult to understand. It's literally like you're reading a medical practitioner's book. It doesn't make any sense. I went back and said, the self-help books aren't helping me, I need something else. And they basically told me that all I needed to do was calm down, take deep breaths, or they'd have to give me CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, which is what they should have given me in the first place, I've recently found out. But they're really funny about giving it to people. I've known quite a few people with anxiety who have been told that they need CBT, but not told how to actually get CBT. So this is why I decided to go to my uni and get some help from the actual specific mental help people, because then they can give me what I need instead of going to the GP and then basically fobbing me off again and telling me that this is what you need, but we're not going to give it to you. As for now, some of the ways that I tend to try and deal with it is breathing exercises. I've done yoga in the past to try and help it, but I'm pretty lazy, or I just forget to do it. But I practice some of the yoga kind of breathing techniques. So where you breathe in through your nose and then out through your mouth, and you do that for like 4, so you breathe in for 4 and then out for 4. I've been doing that a lot, and that definitely helps. But also there's an app that Tanya Burr actually recommended, and it's called Calm, and you can get it on the internet, so you can go to the website, or you can get it on your iPhone, and I think you can get it on Android as well. But it's basically a meditation app, and you can set the amount of time that you want to meditate for, and like what music you would like, or if you want a woman to talk you through it, and then you can just meditate for however long you want. And actually meditation is really hard, but it definitely is worth it. It's kind of hard to get your brain to focus on absolutely nothing, because I tend to think of a lot of things all at one time, which explains a lot really. So that's pretty much all I can really say about it. I've kind of told you how I get it, how I deal with it, yeah, and how I'm getting help for it. I know a lot of bloggers and vloggers and YouTubers all suffer with anxiety. It's actually really, really common. So if you do suffer with anxiety, I'm going to write a blog post about this as well in case people don't watch YouTube videos and they want to read it on my blog. But I'll write a bit more over on there if you want to have a read of that. But if you do suffer with anxiety, please tell us all about it. It does help to actually talk about it. I find that if I talk about it with friends and family, it definitely calms me down. Because when I know somebody else sort of knows about it and is aware of it, then I sort of don't feel as trapped and scared. So if you want to talk about it, please talk about it. You can even tweet me if you want to. I always put my Twitter link at the end of the videos. So if you want to tweet me or you can private message me, that is absolutely fine. I do not mind talking about it if you have any questions or anything like that. Don't mind talking about it whatsoever. So I will leave it there and I will go and write this blog post with lots of info. Might add some links to handy things. But I will see you next week for another video that is slightly less depressing and a bit more upbeat. So, see you later. Bye bye.